Hello fellow crafters, I'm Karen, and in this video I'll be showing you how to make this kitchen wreath, which is built into a cast iron pan. This project came about as I started to rethink what we use for the frame of a wreath. And in this case I wanted to do a kitchen themed wreath, so I thought that a pan, specifically a cast iron pan, would provide that circular or round shape that would make for a good frame. So for this I'm going to be building everything into and around a little cast iron pan that I came across. And the materials that you'll need for this are up on the screen. So first you'll need your pan, and mine is, I think, the nickel plated kind. And it's also kind of small and more oval shaped, but you can use whatever pan you find. We're also going to need whatever flowers or greens you want to put in to make it look a little bit more wreath-like. So I'm going to be using a mix of different greens. I have some lavender in here as well, but I have some hops and lamb's ear and just some other things I found at the store that I thought would add some texture and color to it. And then beyond that, you just need anything else that you think will make it look sort of kitchen-y. So for me, this is going to be a wooden spoon and a pair of salt and pepper shakers. But for you, it could be really whatever you find and whatever you'd like to use. Beyond that, you'll just need some materials to help put it all together. So the first thing that you may need to do is clean the cast iron that comes your way. You can do some extra research to find out the best way to do it. You can see that I've got mine fairly clean here. It didn't come to me very clean, but I just basically used a soap on steel wool pad and scrubbed the life out of it. So I did have to do that as a bit of an extra step to get ready for this project, but I think you'll find that's often the case, especially if you're buying a cast iron piece from a yard sale or just getting it from somewhere else that it's been in use. What I'm aiming for here as the rough final product is the cast iron pan with the spoon going across the handle, and then the flowers sort of hanging down from there. Not nearly this many in quantity, nor filling up the whole center space there, but this is the rough idea. But I was starting to think through whether glue would hold things to cast iron or not, and I'm a little concerned that it probably won't. So that's actually how I ended up at the dangling down flower idea instead of flowers coming up from the bottom, because I wasn't sure or confident that I could actually get them to stay in place, and I considered a variety of options, trying to build some structure in there, and I just wasn't confident. So what I'm going to do for sure is attach the spoon to the cast iron using a combination of glue and some of this hemp string, and that way there's a definite place where it will be holding. Hopefully the glue will hold. I'm going to try some E6000 glue on that, but jury's out on whether that will do us any good. If nothing else, the string will hold it in place. So from there, what I need to have is basically something that I can glue my flowers to. So popsicle sticks. So basically what I need to use these popsicle sticks for is to create some sort of structure that will be from the back of the spoon and then downward around the edges. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but something along these lines. And then I'll have enough there that if nothing else, my popsicle sticks will hold the flowers together or in place, and I don't have to worry about the whole thing falling apart because they'll be attached to the spoon, which is then tied to the cast iron. So it's a little bit convoluted a plan, and I will be using glue along the way, but just to be sure that the glue is not my only means of holding everything in place, I'm going to be doing it this way. Now that I've got my popsicle stick structure built, it's time to try and attach this all to the pan. So I've got here my E6000 glue, and I'm going to basically attach it to the back of this, on this little popsicle stick here, but I want to have my hemp string ready first so that I can tie it in place very securely. And I'm also going to be later on attaching some salt and pepper shakers. So I think what I'm going to do is leave the ends of the hemp string really long at this point so that I can use those same strings to attach the salt and pepper shakers later. So I also have some clamps out here just because I think it'll be wise for bonding's sake to try and clamp it in place. I'm also going to put a couple of little dabs of glue underneath where the popsicle sticks touch the pan, and we'll just let it cure for the 24 hours and check in after that. Things moved around there a little bit, so there's a little bit of glue where I didn't intend for it to be, but that'll all be hidden in the end, so it doesn't matter. So at this point, we're just going to see how it does after curing, and then we'll proceed from there. I always preset my flowers and greens in place just to make sure that I know that I'm going to get roughly what I want in the end. And that's when I make all those decisions about how much to put in there, how to distribute the colors, things like that. So I'm going to be working with 4 different types of stems here. I have some hops, which I thought was nice and kitcheny, as well as having good texture to it. Some lambs here, also very texture oriented, because you'll notice even though there's a lot of green, there are different textures and shades. Then I had some lavender for color. And then this white fluffy flower, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but again, I was looking for texture, a different type of green because it's kind of ferny, and just a little bit of extra in the way of flowers. So what we're going to do is choose pieces of this. I'll pop them off at the stems. These are all fake flowers that I actually found in the wedding section primarily of the store. That's how I found these little short stems, so I would guess that they're probably used for like boutonnieres and things of that nature, but they will work just as well for this. So we're going to preset everything here, and then we will go ahead and actually glue things in place. I want to hide the popsicle sticks as I go, but leave the spoon visible. The nice part about presetting your flowers is that you don't have to do them in any particular order. You don't have to think to do the bottom first and then move up to the upper layers. So you can just sort of lay things and move things around as much as you want. So that's what I'm doing here, trying to figure out what balance of things I want to have. Typically things are better asymmetrical and a little off balance, so I'm going to be moving around those greens a lot and the flowers as well, trying to figure out how do I make this look more natural, which is typically based on asymmetry. So you work until you get the right idea roughly, and here's what mine looks like. And then you go ahead and take it all apart, hopefully in sort of chunks, and replace it in the proper order. So I decided to work up from the bottom basically, and that's in 2 respects. I'm working from the tip of the pan back to the handle, and I'm also working from the lower green levels to the upper layers. So this means that I'm starting with the lamb's ear, and I'm sort of getting an idea of what I want in bunches, and assembling those bunches and then transitioning to the next bunch. It's not an exact science, but it works. And of course, you're not going to stick to exactly the same way that you did it when you were just doing your test run. You have to be flexible and see how things fit and move and end up in their final positions. And just make sure you're putting a lot of glue on anywhere where the piece can stick to another piece or to the wood frame or maybe even to the cast iron. Stick a little dot of glue there. And we're just trying to hide all that glue in the end, but use enough of it that we don't have to worry about it falling apart. And then if you're going to use something like my salt and pepper shakers as a centerpiece of sorts, you may just want to make sure that they have a place to be at the end. So I'm going to dry fit those in place and just see what it looks like, which helps me decide where the position of that last piece of lavender is going to be. And here we have all of the florals glued in place. The last thing we want to do is add anything that we want to use as a focal point. And in my case, I found these little pewter salt and pepper shakers at an antique store, and I thought that would fit really well. They look sort of like bells, which was the appeal to me, and then they're salt and pepper shakers, so they fit in the kitchen. So basically what I'm going to be doing is tying these on using that string that I left, my hemp string from earlier. So this should be a pretty quick step, but you could add anything that you think you'd like to have in it. So I considered even using like some doilies to maybe make a little feature in the back of it, or even a bow at the top. But I didn't really like the way that looked, so I opted not to use that. But you could use anything kitchen related or otherwise, and that will be the last step you need to do. And here we have our completed kitchen wreath in a cast iron pan. And you may need to add some string at the top if you need to hang this on a nail or something like that, because this handle probably isn't going to hang very well. And the other thing you may need to do is put a piece of foam or something on the back of the pan so it doesn't do any damage to your walls. But those are optional things, and the actual creative part is complete. Thanks for supporting Tickled Fancy Crafting by watching this video. This content is available on YouTube and Rumble, so click the like or Rumble button to let me know that you enjoyed the content, and subscribe to see new Tickled Fancy Crafting videos in your feed. If you'd like to be informed directly about the content, ring the notification bell on YouTube or adjust your notification settings on Rumble. Comment with crafts that you would like to see in the future, and remember, you can make this.